All right, here we go to walk through the week 5 programming assignment. As you can see here, I started with our file that we made in class, the bank2 program, and it ran that numbers.txt file that we made. I then made some changes to the program so it would show just more than just numbers, and ran the bank record, and it showed me all of these. Then I continued to make some more changes. I got some stuff wrong that time, and this time I made some changes and was able to get all of this stuff to pull up on their own lines. Once I figured that out, I took some steps to do a few other things. Started writing program, testing some stuff, and then retesting it and running it again and testing it. So the first successful thing I did was running the bank record 1. Was able to make that happen successfully. But then after I was able to make that happen, I was running into some, well, this is me trying to figure out my decimals, trying to get just to show 2. But anyway, then I went and ran bank record 2, and that did not work properly. It just gave an error message, but then showed zeros and all this, so I realized I needed to fix that. Went in and made a bunch of changes over and over again. Had a hard time figuring out how I was supposed to do it. Kept trying different things with if commands and while loops and trying to figure it out. Came all the way down here. I finally was able to figure it out. I ran bank 2, bank record, well, yeah, second trial, running random things. Then ran bank record 1 and it worked. Ran bank record 2 and it said insufficient funds for transaction 3. Made some changes so it said transaction number 3. Then ran the bank records and it gave me the right numbers. And I was able to get to the right decimals. So now I'll take you into my program and show you how I went about it. So I included all of these. I don't know if I used a string for sure. I think I did, but I included it anyway. Mostly because I was having problems, and so I thought maybe if I included that it would help, so I did. But first things first is I declared and initialized the constant double of monthly interest, which is at 14% divided by 12 months. And then I declared some integers. One is the months, which allows for the program to pick up months in the file. Transaction number. This is one of those counting numbers that I use to count transactions. And then I also have last month, which is useful for the interest. I have to have the last month there, so that way I have a way for the program to know when we've moved on from the first month and have continued to move on to consecutive months, so it knows to put in the interest. Deposit is another counting for counting deposit amounts, and withdraw is another counter that counts withdraw amounts. Character transaction allows for me to read the characters within the file. The double amount, this is to keep track of the total withdrawal, total account balance, and the total deposit balance. Those all start with 0. They are those carrying balances that are carrying on to the end that I'm keeping track of. I think that's the wrong wording, but yeah. So string is called file name. I made a bool expression. That's what I ended up figuring out. That's what I needed to do to make the while expression work. I kept on just trying to use the while expression without creating a bool expression, and that was causing me problems. So figured that I'd make the bool expression, and I did, and then I made the while expression. As you can see, as long as that is false, file opened, this will continue to repeat itself until it can open the file, and then file opened will then change to true, which will allow the program to continue forward. And right here in the beginning, this is where I added in the set precision, so that way all my results in the end would be to the 2 decimal places. Yeah, so this is the program running, and it says while input file transactions month and amount, so it takes in all of those, and then it counts the transaction numbers, which is like the lines of the files transactions. If the amount is less than 0, it'll send back an error and the program will end. And that's why I have return 0 there. So then right here's for the interest. If the month has moved on from the last month and the last month is greater than 0, which would mean it's the first month. I mean, yeah, whatever. Adds interest onto there. So double interest equals account balance times monthly interest, account balance plus or equal interest, total interest plus or equal interest. So that's incrementing those, making them grow by the interest amount. And so if the character is a D, the number of deposits will go up, be incremented by 1. The deposit balance will grow by the amount of the transaction, and the account balance will also grow by the amount of the transaction. If it's not D, which would mean it's a W, so the else, if the account balance is less than the amount first off, we'll have insufficient funds for this transaction. And that's where I entered in the number in the transaction number. So as it's counting transaction numbers, once it lands on this one where there's an issue, it'll say there is an issue with transaction number. Transaction number 3 didn't work because that was the line it was on when it didn't work. Then it'll increment the withdrawals. The withdrawal amount will grow by the amount, and the account balance will decrease by the amount. And last month equals the current month, whatever the current month was. Okay, and then we close the file. And then this is see out. You made a total of blank deposits, deposit for the deposit amount, you get the total deposit balance, all that good stuff. So, yep, that's my program. Ran it all the different ways, make it work. Sorry if I sounded tired. I stayed up all night doing this, so pretty exhausted. All right, thanks.